house inspections by the Inspectional Service Department. I'm joined here by my colleague, City Councilor Ed Flynn, and we're also joined by our Commissioner, Commissioner Dion Irish from the Inspectional Service Department. Let me first say thank you for coming out in the snowstorm. I know that it's been an interesting 24 hours, and as I'm looking out, it's coming down at a pretty good clip right now, so I appreciate your attention to detail. I know that this is important for your department, but while others are sort of making other arrangements, postponing things, we felt that this was that important to give you the tools that you need to carry out your function as our commissioner to make sure that we held this hearing. So for those that are here and wish to offer public testimony, they may do so by signing in the sheet at the front door. Also, it's important to note that this is live streamed on Boston City Council TV. It's also being recorded and will be rebroadcast on Comcast Channel 8, RCN Channel 82, and Verizon 64 at a later date. And so, in short, this docket 1585 seeks to amend Chapter 18 of the City of Boston Ordinances, Section 18-1.1, to allow the Inspectional Service Department to recover costs for conducting inspections outside of normal business hours by charging a fee for such inspections. The proposed amendment reads as follows, quote, "The fee paid to the Commissioner of Inspectional Service Department, ISD, for any inspection conducted by any division of ISD occurring outside the normal business hours of ISD at the request of the party to be inspected shall be $250 for each such inspection." I think that's important for a couple of reasons. One, giving folks a degree of predictability, which I think is very important, but also helps us not have to be in the chase and track people down business to get paid. So having that fee, but also making sure that that fee is paid up front, I think will go a long way in helping us on the collection side of the house. So if my colleague, Councilor Ed Flynn, has any opening comment to the Commissioner at this point, Chair recognizes Councilor Flynn.
Thank you, Councilor Flaherty, and thank you to the Commissioner as well for your work on many of these issues. I think you're doing a very good job. Councilor Flaherty, the 250 fee, I think is sufficient. Enables the ISD inspectors to conduct these inspections. I would actually like to see it even increased higher than that. And you know, the city is booming, and maybe use some of that money for infrastructure improvements as it relates to pedestrian safety issues in and around that project. Again, I do support the $250 fee. I do wish it was higher. Thank you for the administration for bringing forth this matter. Again, thank you for Councilor Flaherty for holding. I've heard from many residents who are also living next to construction sites in many parts of the district, especially in the south end. Many times these construction sites, the construction workers are working without a permit. These after-hour construction violations not only disturb neighbors, impact their quality of life, but also drains resources from ISD when they have to send an inspector out as well. I think having a fee imposed on these after-hour inspections, again, is a good idea. And I'm eager to work with the Commissioner and with the administration on this. My only request is maybe we could increase that $250 fee and use some of that money towards pedestrian safety issues in and around that project. Thank you, Councilor Flaherty, and thank you to the Commissioner.
Thank you, Councilor Flynn, and welcome, Commissioner Dion Irish. You have the floor to represent the administration.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairman Flaherty and Councilor Flynn, and thank you for keeping this hearing despite the wonderful weather that we're having. As Councilor Flynn pointed out, after our inspections, which I do want to differentiate from what we're talking about today, but off our work is sometimes requested by contractors to work outside of the regular business hours that they're allowed to do work, and we do want to continue having a conversation about how we could better manage that. But this particular proposal is relative to inspections that we provide outside of our regular business hours that are necessary. Predominantly, they are related to life safety type of inspections that include building inspectors, fire inspectors, electrical inspectors. And our current way of recapturing the overtime incurred is that we bill after the fact for the contractors to repay us for the overtime. Although we do a good job with collecting that, I think having an upfront fee system not only provides the customers with a cost certainty as to what this is going to require, but on our side, it takes us out of the collection business to a certain degree, and it guarantees that we're having 100% collection of important taxpayer resources.
Right. So, Commissioner, what determines whether it's sort of a regular inspection or if it's an after-hours inspection? Is the schedule already set, and then someone calls looking for an inspection, and they're not going to get to the inspection in time based on their current workload, so that slips into the category of sort of an after-hours inspection? Or does someone just call in, depending on the time and the day or the hour of the day they call in, that sort of necessitates an after-hour inspection?
So they're requested in advance, and there's a form that has to be completed to explain why the inspection is needed. Quite often, they're related to the type of work that's being done. Often it's about fire alarm testing. Sometimes it's stairway pressurization testing. Some things need to be done early in the morning, some things on the weekend when there's not a lot of traffic, pedestrian traffic, and different types of things. So that represents most of the requests.
Right. So the type of inspection tends to guide whether it's a sort of an off-hour. And again, just on behalf of the resident and the taxpayers, just want to make sure that our regular workload is governed a certain way, and then if there's these extra inspections that have to take place, as opposed to all of a sudden now we're going to lump them all in as sort of in the OT category, I think we'd get a lot of pushback from your customers, if you will, and residents across the city. So it's important to note that there's certain types of inspections that require either early AM or after business hours, whether it's a traffic issue or if it's a life safety issue, versus sort of a run-of-the-mill inspection that you could get in a timely manner if you fill it out at a certain time. Yeah. And I guess how are we tracking that?
Well,
the efficiency around that.
All these requests are in writing, so we keep a file on these. And as you said, these aren't the run-of-the-mill inspections, but from time to time, a contractor may be interested in sort of having an inspection on their own time if they feel as though they can't get it done quick enough. Our inspectors are quite productive. I mean, our building electrical inspectors, plumbing, they're doing 10 to 13 inspections a day. But if you want it done faster, that is an option that some folks may utilize. But for the majority of these requests, they're related to things that have to be conducted outside of the regular business day.
Right. And to really kind of maybe to Council Flynn's point, is there a sort of maybe a third category we could for the use of, I guess, the phrase sort of boutique inspections, if you will, to the point you just referenced, where someone may want sort of attention to detail, or they're calling because they want it done on a very specific date and time, that get lumped into maybe the boutique inspection, where we can even charge higher than the $250. Again, just food for thought. You have your regular inspections you apply for, and you do that, and those happen. Then you have the life safety ones, and do the ones that need to go early or late, just based on the type of inspection. And then is there a potential third category where someone wants sort of the boutique service, if you will, where they get a dedicated inspector to address that issue in a timely manner? It's on their schedule, not on the inspector's schedule, but they're willing to pay a premium for that. Do you think that there's a market for that in any sense? Yeah,
I'm not certain if we could charge additional fees for those type of inspections. As I understand it, that we have to carefully determine what the actual cost is to the city. There is room for administrative costs because we do incur that as well, but it's sort of it's an art to find the right price point where it's not excessive, but it does cover the city for its costs.
And then, any idea how many after-hour inspections that the ISD currently oversees in a year?
Upwards of 90 a week.
Really? That's a lot. I didn't realize that. Yeah. And obviously, what was the factor that led to the monetary amount? Was it the fact that we're chasing a lot of these fees after the fact, so that we decided to have an upfront fee? And it's worked into the...
Exactly. I think that, you know, as you know, we have more than enough work to do, and, you know, we're spending valuable time and resources on trying to collect, where I think if we had a system like this, then we wouldn't be in that collection business, and we could shift those resources elsewhere.
And those 90 inspections that happen, that's overtime for our employees, I assume?
Yes.
So there's a cost technically, so is there any sort of financial deficit occurring when that happens, and is the 250 maybe designed to offset that bite?
Yeah, so
Do you have budget?
with the current system, it's based on actual cost for overtime that we bill back to the contractor.
to the
It could be
customer,
weeks, could be months after, then there's that collection challenge. This price point was determined based on an analysis of our costs and the highest, you know, paid inspectors, and using that plus a administrative fee to find the lowest cost we could find, and 250 was that number.
And
Now,
so-
in a few years, it'd have to be reviewed,
Right.
but
So currently, right now, if we have one of your employees is working overtime, are they on, is that, I guess, a regular rate, or are they getting paid an overtime rate? So I guess inspectors that are currently doing the 90 inspections a week as overtime, are they also, is the city, in terms of the taxpayers, are they paying overtime for that employee, and are we recovering that within the 250? Do those numbers add up?
this 250 would allow us to recapture that.
Gotcha.
And most of the inspections are conducted by, not supervisors, by inspectors, and if the inspection takes less than 3 hours, then they're paid at a flat rate.
Correct.
Now, if it's longer than that, then, which is not typical, then it would become time and a half.
And then what category would an emergency inspection, say there's an incident at, you know, a restaurant or a hotel, or it's something at night or late into the hours, and it's, you know, there's a water main break, or there's just something kind of, I guess, catastrophic happens, what category does an emergency inspection fall under? Does that fall into an overtime inspection? Does it fall into a regular routine inspection, or does it fall into an after-hours?
Yes, so,
inspection?
an emergency inspection outside of working hours would fall into the overtime category.
Would fall into the overtime, okay. And they would be required to pay that fee, but if it's an emergency, right, how are we getting the,
So if we're responding to an emergency, then we're not charging anyone a fee.
okay, got it, perfect. Council Flynn, any additional questions of Commissioner?
Yeah, thank you, Council Flaherty. Commissioner, the $250 proposed fee, what is currently the fee now?
The fee now is based on the employee that worked the overtime and how long it took them to work. So we'd have to calculate the overtime,
okay.
and then invoice the requester.
And when you're doing an inspection at a particular construction site, how many inspectors would go to that particular site? Is it one, or could it be up to a half a dozen?
It could be up to half a dozen. Depends on the building, depends on the work being done. For a high-rise, for stairway pressure testing, that could be a dozen inspectors.
So if there's a dozen inspectors, would that $250 fee, would that be times 6, or is that for all the inspectors?
No, that would be times each inspector.
Times each inspector?
Yeah.
Okay. So it could be a couple $1,000s for the inspection?
Yes.
And how long traditionally does the inspection last for?
About 90 minutes to 2 hours.
Okay.
Very rarely does it go. It could potentially go like in the 3-hour range, but we recognize that. But I think overall it will wash out that this 250 will cover our costs.
Okay. Do you have any notification with the impacted neighborhood organizations when you're letting them know that inspectors will be on site, on premises? And is there any precaution that you have to do in letting the residents know about a particular building, or that there'll be some work happening on that weekend or at nighttime?
No, but our inspections quite often aren't related to work. Often it's about testing things that neighbors may not even be impacted by.
Now,
But when there is work being conducted after hours, we have a report that's posted on our website each week to notify the community of all addresses who have been granted permission to work on evenings and weekends.
okay. And would you have, traditionally have any communication, would other city departments also, or agencies be involved, such as, water and sewer is often on a construction site doing work, but would the water and sewer inspectors also be part of this process if necessary, if there was an issue relating to the sewer system or the water system as well?
Well, this particular proposal will only cover ISD inspectors, but as you described, quite often our inspections involve other agencies, water and sewer, the fire department, sometimes utility companies.
Would you coordinate with all departments, or would you just stay in your lane in terms of work on ISD issues? And then the fire department would do their own inspections, water and sewer might do their own inspections, public works. How would that work?
Yeah, well, certainly each entity is looking for the things that are under their purview, but I think we have a great collaboration with all the agencies in the city that they do a good job working together, but we're looking for different things.
Okay. Is there anything that the city council, especially district councils, can do in terms of working with you to make sure that the residents are notified if that applies?
If what applies?
If there is a role for the district councilors to communicate with the residents in the neighborhood about construction that might take place, inspections that might take place, is there anything that we can do to be helpful as part of this process in working closely with the neighborhood?
Yeah, well, honestly, I think both of your offices do a great job currently. We're in communication. There are things that you're aware of that we may not be aware of that we need to be sensitive of when we have requests for folks who are looking to work after hours, for example. And so I think we have a good system in place. So what I would say is just continued collaboration.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. I know we talked before, but no issue is too small in my district. I like to be informed of almost every issue, and I do appreciate the work that you and your staff, your professional and dedicated staff, are doing. So I just want to say thank you to you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Flynn. And just to clarify, Commissioner Irish, so the fee that would be levied here, the $250 fee, that would be the same rate for all sort of divisions of ISD. So that would be for Health Division, Road and Control, Environment and Sanitation, Weights and Measures, Life Safety, those types of things. That would be the 200. Any other ones, I know Council Flynn referenced maybe Water and Sewer and other departments, but the 250 would be levied for all the divisions under Inspectional Services.
That's correct, yes.
Good. That's pretty straightforward. Do you have anything additional of us?
No, just
Council
thank
Flynn,
you.
have
Thank you
anything
for
additional?
this
Council Flynn
opportunity.
Yeah, thank you, Council Flaherty, and sorry to ask one more question. Thank you, Commissioner. One issue I want to focus on going forward also that Council Flaherty mentioned is pest control. It's a critical issue impacting the city. A lot of the construction sites that are taking place because of the ongoing construction, we have major issues now with mice and rats in the impacted neighborhood. What are we doing on pest control and working with the developer, working with the contractor during the construction phase and after the construction phase as well to make sure that, pest control issues are dealt with? And I heard concerns that even after the process ends and the pest control team moves on to another site, that the neighbors are still dealing with the problem of mice and rats in the neighborhood. How can we ensure that the trapping always continues much longer than it does now?
Yeah, so I think it's something that we have to just continually keep working on. For every project, every construction project is required to have a pest management plan that's reviewed by ISD's Environmental Services Division. Then there are compliance checks. We also respond to complaints to make sure that things are in order. And above and beyond that, it's community education sometimes. We recently had a little initiative in East Boston area where we saw uptick in complaints. So we went to every business and every resident nearby just to make sure they were taking all the proper precautions, taking care of food sources, looking for any entry points and things of that nature. So it's something that it's a constant effort required by everyone involved, and we're certainly committed to that. We have a great team that's out every morning at 4 a.m. who are addressing parts of the city that we have any issues or concerns with on a regular basis.
Thank you. And just as a follow-up, my last question, Commissioner, as part of that outreach, could I ask if ISD could work with me in educating our business community, restaurants, especially in Chinatown? I have a lot of restaurants in that area. I think we can do a better job on pest control issues, and it also includes us translating a message for them in Chinese and doing the proper outreach. But could I work with you and your team and maybe do an educational campaign in that neighborhood?
I think that's a wonderful idea. We'd love to work with you on that.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Good. Well, pretty straightforward, Commissioner. Obviously, it installs a degree of predictability to the inspection process. It also captures some real-time fees for the amount of work, the hours that it's taken, and also it eliminates the chase, if you will. I know that a lot of folks they create LLCs, they have corporations and or real estate trusts and stuff like that. So they could come in, apply for something, and then they owe us money, and then they dissolve the trust, or they dissolve the LLC, they create a brand new LLC. So I think it's a very forward-thinking plan to at least have the fee out there, have it be transparent and predictable, make sure that it's paid in advance of the inspection, make sure that we follow through and do the inspection like we said we were going to do, and then the case closed, if you will, as opposed to us, having to chase after the fact. So well done, and look forward to putting together a favorable committee report and have it before the council for a vote as soon as possible. So again, I appreciate the work you're doing over there as our commissioner. I've talked to a lot of folks over there, and they said that morale is great. They appreciate your attention to detail and how you treat people, and so the word is good with your work ethic and the attention you bring to a lot of the things that we're dealing with. And I know it's very busy. Just take a look at Boston skyline and all the issues that Councilor Flynn had referenced here. You're right in the middle of it, so I appreciate you taking time to come out over in a snowstorm to address these questions, and look forward to having something turned around pretty quickly. Thank you very much, Commissioner.
Thank you. I'm lucky to have a great team.
And with respect to Docket 1585, ordinance concerning after-hours inspection by the Inspectional Service Department, the Committee on Government Operations is adjourned. Thank you.